Stephanie, we have a great guest coming up.
Yes.
Her name is Katelyn Johnson, and she's the Action Now Executive Director and very excited about raising the minimum wage. Are you there, Katelyn?
Yes, I am, and I am excited about raising the minimum wage.
I know you are.
Okay. Yes, and as I mentioned before in the previous segment, I do follow your page. I get the notifications. Action Now, I'm assuming that's the same organization?
Yes, Action Now, the organization.
Right.
We're part of a coalition called Raise Chicago.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about what the organization was founded on. What are your goals? What are you trying to achieve?
Are you like community organizers, like a president?
Well, we are community organizers, but more importantly, we're people in the community who actually live, breathe, and work in communities like Englewood, North Wandale, and really are working to build power for low-income people in those communities and affect the neighborhood, affect the city, and affect the state and beyond, just to really affect the issues of justice and really make sure that people are represented and people have a seat at the decision-making tables.
So you're kind of like a union for the community?
I've never thought of it that way, but
yeah, that's what it sounds like when you describe
really,
it. Yeah,
we're community members together who are fighting for change and fighting to make a difference in our communities, but also to affect the issues that really reach Chicagoans broadly, like poverty and issues with housing and issues with education. We're a multi-issue organization because people have multi-issue lives.
I see.
So there are so many different groups. Again, I follow them all. $11. One of them has their profile picture is $11. There's people saying we need 15. Where did the number 13 come from in your group? Why is that a good number for a minimum wage?
Well, we're 15.
Yeah, they're 15.
You are 15.
Yeah, they've
I
gone
thought you were
up.
13.
No, Brom is 13.
Okay,
yeah,
I got to keep
it.
13.
And it's interesting.
And Obama was 10. Okay,
right.
I got it. All right.
Right.
All right.
So the federal is 1010, state is 1065 with a referendum coming up this November. And then in the city, we're championing 15 because it is a number that really effectively addresses poverty from the beginning of the phase-in. We really, our goal is really to pull people out of poverty, have them making enough money to take care of themselves, take care of their families, and really build the economy of their communities in the city.
Well, I have to say, and I don't want to sound like I'm attacking you, but the way you said to pull people out of poverty, as if kicking or screaming, whether they want to, a little effort on their part, that's what it sounds like to me. We're going to pull them out by giving them this $13 an hour. I'm sorry, $15 an hour. And do you have, to me, a starting wage is, again, like I mentioned, my teenager, he's got his first job. My kids go out and get jobs. And by the time that they're, going into college, or maybe they're not going to go to college, they're making a little bit more money. Do you find that this $15 an hour, these are head of household people, and that's your base? Or, again, to me, a starting wage is when you start getting a job in your teen years and not when you're 40 and you've got 2 kids and now I need to be making a living.
But even if the low-wage population it's the people who are working these minimum wage jobs are far more educated, have families, and are running households. This isn't the minimum wage of, the teenage years. And even if they are teenagers making minimum wage, which there are, most of them are really supporting their families and supporting their lives too. It costs money to live here in Chicago. And with so many people who are in poverty, they deserve to actually work to make enough to live here. And it's interesting that, $15 an hour really is the bare minimum of what it would cost to actually live here in Chicago and be able to thrive here in Chicago.
Well,
it's not about just getting by. It's really about thriving and having your family grow and prosper.
Well, then why not make it $50 an hour?
Right, because 15, I'm going to be honest, I couldn't live off $15 an hour. Most of us couldn't. And to me, that's not really pulling you out of just $15. Is that a good, wage?
I mean, and you're basically doubling what they were making now. I mean, they're making $8.25 an hour and, 15 is almost double. But it's quite a thing to swallow for a lot of businesses. And I'm not talking McDonald's. I'm talking about regular
small businesses.
Well, the great thing about our Raise Chicago ordinance is there is a phase-in for small business so that the economy gets spurred by the big corporations who can afford it first, which pumps money into the economy that helps benefit small businesses. So when the phase-in gets to them, they have more capital to work with, which is really, when we wanted to be intentional. We heard from a lot of our small business leaders that, they wanted to be able to pay their workers more, but they needed the economy to be spurred, and this is a way to do that.
Well, do you mind if we take a call? We got some callers on this. How about if we go to Sean on line 1?
Listen, I've been listening to this, and I can't help but notice, I don't think you're anything but an economic illiterate socialist who enjoys to give themselves power over corporations because you feel they made their money illegitimately. Is that correct?
No, that's not correct.
Okay, because
I feel
how
that
does a
people
big
deserve to
business
make a living and deserve to be able to live in a city that they love and be able to afford to put food on their table and a house over their heads and really move forward and grow with their lives? And I think that
your policies that you endorse have been paying people to fail for 50 years. And at the same time you talk of these evil corporations and their money, you never point to the fact the government has never reaped more money from its citizens than right now. Every month, every day, every week, the money the government takes.
The people who are working hard and who are struggling with poverty would beg to differ with you.
The numbers
they're
are the
benefits
numbers. I'm not interested in differing. I'm quoting you statistics. You can quote me emotions all you want. I'm telling you statistically, numbers
Nationally,
have never taken more. All you have to do is look it up.
Nobel Prize-winning economists have supported raising the minimum wage.
Well, yeah,
And
that's like scientists that are for global warming. You know,
Listen, I'm curious. Did everyone in your family agree to this, or was there anyone who took advantage of the opportunity free market laissez-faire capitalism gave them? See, because people, academics like you've been around since the 15th century, and you believe that a few academic elites should make all the rules and set all the parameters for all the people.
Well,
and in the meantime, with your own money, I'm curious. I gave $16,000 to charity last year. What did you give?
All right, Sean. You know what? We need to go on to other calls. But thanks for your call. I mean, I can see you're very passionate. He always is. And Katelyn, I appreciate that you even came on this station because you knew that this might happen, right? I
understand.
I mean, you know, again, and this is an environment where we can exchange ideas. But again, just as a person, you said they want to live in the city that they love and they want to be able to afford to live there. And again, I grew up in the city, grew up in the West Side, and I got my first job making $3.10 an hour when I was a teenager, and I just never stopped working. I didn't go to college. I wasn't rich, but it still afforded me the opportunity to live the American dream, because I can't imagine that setting the pace of $15 for unskilled workers is going to help anybody, because then if they're getting 15
unskilled workers, first of all, and secondly, if the minimum wage would have actually kept pace with inflation and kept pace with productivity, it would be much higher.
The government shouldn't be setting a minimum wage anyway. It should be let everyone else, the employees, the people, the business owners, decide how much someone's worth. The government should have nothing to do with it.
There are so many businesses who are so supportive of the minimum wage.
The $15 minimum wage. There's a lot of businesses that are.
There are businesses who are supportive of 15. There are businesses who are supportive of the minimum wage at all levels, from the federal to the state to the city.
Now, when you start a job and you start at $15 an hour, do you think they're going to get a raise after that, none, or is it just going to stay? Because, you know, I mean, most entry-level jobs, you get a raise after 6 months. So you weren't working for minimum wage forever. So now I don't see them getting a raise.
The cost of living is one way to get a raise, but you know, this is just the beginning. This is the first step, and as the economy grows, as worker productivity increases, as companies actually make more money because more people have money in their pockets and need their products, and so they're buying more, there's so much more potential for everything to grow.
All right. Well,
thank you, Katelyn.
We'll have to leave it there.
I apologize for talking over you. I would love to have you come on the weekend. We can have more time to talk, and we'll make sure it's a nice environment.
Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for inviting me.